Welcome, my name is Thomas Brown and I'm the founder and clinical director of Equanimity Psychological Services, which is a central London psychotherapy and counselling service. Today I'm going to be talking about Obsessive-Compulsive Disorder, or OCD as it's frequently referred to. My last video was about how we can recognise OCD and how diagnosis occurs. I went through the DSM-5 explaining the features involved. However, today I'm going to be talking about how we can understand OCD. So what is it that makes us, develop obsessions among certain people in the population? And what is it that keeps that problem going? So why people continue to experience obsessions and compulsions. If any of you want to understand OCD in a greater detail, I would initially recommend you watch my first video about diagnosis. But I will recap and I will explain a little bit about what OCD is and what people know about it. So obsessive-compulsive disorder is a clinical condition. It is something that affects someone's life to an extent it's causing distress frequently, is causing problems in their life, such as work, such as relationships. The main features behind it, the main features involved are frequent obsessions that a person will have and develop throughout the day. And obsessions are particular repetitive thoughts. They occur in a specific way which they are intrusive. They pop into people's minds against their will. They don't seem as if they're things that we consciously create. They can feel a bit strange, a bit alien. And also they're very, they feel uncomfortable, they feel uncontrollable, and the content of them are often, the polar opposite of a person's core values. It might be that these obsessions contain thoughts about harm. So if someone's peace-loving, they may have harm obsessions. But other types of obsessions include contamination obsessions. The thought we might pick up some germs, pass them on, cause harm that way. Sexual obsessions can sometimes occur whereby we have a sudden thought we might do something very inappropriate to do with sexuality. And religious obsessions, so things we might do that are inappropriate to a person's religion. Somatic obsessions as well, so they are ones whereby we have repeated thoughts of there might be something wrong with our body in some way, it might not be working properly. And precisionism is another one. So precisionism involves people feeling that they must do things in a particular way, order things in a particular way as well. Rumination as well is another type of obsession whereby we think back about particular events that happened over and over. It can be really problematic for some people. They just simply can't stop thinking. So allied to these obsessions are compulsions, and they in most cases develop and they develop in response to these distressing obsessions. Overt obsessions might be cleaning and checking, and they could be sort of related to contamination obsessions, but also covert ones that we might sort of do in our minds, so praying in our minds, counting superstitious numbers. So most people with obsessions will also have compulsions. It is a disorder that persists for a certain amount of time. It can wax and wane. It might go on really badly for a few months, calm down, pick up. But it is a problem that for most people persists for a very long time. But I'm going to be focusing on how we can understand obsessions today. So why they occur in the beginning and what is it that keeps them going among OCD-prone individuals. Okay. Salkovskis model is the model I'm going to be focusing on. This is one of the most researched models of understanding. It also has a lot of useful information because people treating OCD might use some of the assumptions that Salkovskis himself made, so breaking that cycle. So what are his assumptions? Why does he believe OCD occurs in the beginning? Okay. So he basically set out saying the starting point of an obsession comes from these intrusive thoughts. What he added was that actually intrusive thoughts in most people are non-pathological, they're not a problem, they are common. And actually we know from research that 80 to 90% of people without OCD have these intrusive thoughts. What happens psychologically is that people who are not prone to OCD will not see those intrusive thoughts as priority, will not see them as important. They'll be able to just ignore them, brush them off and forget them. And this represents what happens normally. Okay. However, there are a small proportion of people, about 1% of the population, who will evaluate these intrusive thoughts in a particular way that escalates into obsessions. This evaluation basically says that this intrusive thought is important, it's high priority, and I'm responsible for controlling this thought. This is really important. So someone with OCD is going to make that appraisal, that evaluation, and that's what we call our inflated responsibility, a sense that this intrusive thought has now happened, this is high priority, I need to do something about it now. Why does it happen, or why do some people evaluate it in that way? Simply, it is our psychological makeup, and some people will have these core beliefs or schemas that form early on in life that make us think we are responsible for certain things, these responsibility core beliefs. And things like responsibility belief might be that we simply having this thought means I must do something, I'm responsible about doing something about it. Someone might even just think that, okay, as soon as that thought happens, I need to control it. I must do something about it mentally in my mind. These are the thought control beliefs. And we might have neutralization beliefs, the beliefs that we need to do something behaviorally, something we need to do in our life now to try and avert a bad thing from happening, try and avert someone getting harmed, try and avert someone picking up a deadly disease. So these are the core beliefs. Where do they come from? Why do we have them? We know, talking more broadly, schemas, core beliefs are the product of our early experiences. We develop them really early on in life, as young children. Salkovskis gave a few speculations as to why these responsibility beliefs occur. He said, for example, if a child is given a lot of responsibility early on in life, let's say 6 or 7-year-old is responsible for looking after his other siblings and the mother is not involved, they may develop this inflated responsibility. Sometimes inflated responsibility, Salkovskis said actually not having enough or given enough responsibility in childhood can lead to this inflated sense. Being in extreme circumstances, Salkovskis said, well, if something very dramatic happened, perhaps someone died and at that time we had a thought I could have prevented it, again, this can lead to an inflated sense of responsibility. As soon as these inflated beliefs are active or hyperactive, you might refer to, we're going to develop consciously available thoughts to do with our responsibility. I need to take some action, I need to do something in order to manage these intrusive thoughts. This is really, really important that I do. And what happens next? Well, of course, if we're having these thoughts, having these beliefs, it's going to manifest in our behaviour, it's going to manifest in our emotions. So what are we going to do when we feel responsible? Well, I must clean my hands 3 times and then again 3 times to try and prevent germs from spreading. I must tap the wall 3 times in order to prevent my grandmother dying. Sometimes these beliefs obviously are illogical, and a person can even recognise them as illogical, but they have this inflated responsibility. They must do this. And this is where the compulsions come from. It's coming from this inflated responsibility. One of the problems with that is that by engaging in these behaviours, a person can never disconfirm that what they did actually did anything. Okay, I did tap the wall 3 times, and my grandmother didn't get ill, so it could be that the tapping on the wall has done it. So often that sort of keeping it going is this belief that we can never disconfirm that thought. And neutralisation, again, we feel good when we do it, so of course we might want to do it again. Often after completing a compulsion, we feel good. I'll do it again. And the very fact of trying to control our thoughts, actually, in people prone to OCD, it can inflame it, can make it much more intense, because if we are consistently thinking about our thoughts and I must control them, they're going to be more in our mind. We're going to think about them. So I hope this video has been helpful in anyone who's trying to understand why OCD happens. OCD can be very, very bewildering for certain people, particularly sufferers of it, and people often think it's illogical. There is always a reason as to why certain things happen psychologically, and it's important always to remember that. Once again, thank you, and I hope this has been helpful for any clinician, anyone experiencing OCD themselves.